Hi guys! So I want to give you a little bit of background on social contract theory. What we're doing in class for the next few weeks, we're going to move on to discussing Thomas Hobbes and John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. All three of those take an approach to understanding politics called social contract theory. And that is worth stepping back a little bit and explaining because people always get confused about that. So Hobbes and the other philosophers are not saying that at any time people sit down and actually negotiate a contract and sign it. So it's an abstraction. It's just a thought experiment, just like what we saw with Plato, just kind of thinking logically through a situation based on certain assumptions. So we are now finally starting to see some authors that take the idea of individual liberty seriously. So when they look at a definition of a just society, instead of Plato just coming up with his own definition of justice, what they start with is, can you structure society in such a way that you can make an argument that individuals would consent? So it doesn't mean that they actually sit down and take a vote on it, but can you construct a logical argument that says if rational individuals start out from a free and equal position, and there's no coercion, they're not forced, would they agree to a system? You'll remember we saw a little bit of that discussion when we talked about Montesquieu, just a little bit. He talked about, in the state of nature, if everyone just starts out, what kind of laws would they be subject to even before they made laws? And he started out with this idea that people would first recognize their weakness, that would cause them to be peaceful because they were afraid of others, but at the same time, they would have a desire to form a community because they like the company of other people. So this is the kind of idea where we're saying, can you start from the very basics and come up with some rational argument? So you'll remember our course is organized around two intellectual traditions. We've got our civic republican ideas and our individual liberty ideas. We have not yet seen a whole lot that is recognizable as the individualist tradition. We just saw the tiniest glimmer of the idea in the writings of the medieval Christian philosophers. But we're going to see more. It's coming. So up until now, everything we've talked about is that the existence of government can be explained by just assuming that hierarchy is natural or that hierarchy is ordained by God. So until the Renaissance, really, people didn't really consider themselves to be primarily individuals. They thought of themselves in terms of their membership in a group. So people would, consider themselves members of a particular family or members of a caste or members of a religious order or members of a city. That would be their kind of core identity, not core identity as an individual. So the idea that you were first and foremost an individual would have been thought of as really a strange concept. We are getting there. Hobbes is the one who first introduces this concept of humans as individuals. And so now we are at the period of time where authors reject the idea that hierarchy is natural. So they are drawing on these ideas we talked about as part of the Enlightenment, the ideas of equality, ideas of reason and natural law. So they start with the assumption, not that hierarchy is natural, but the assumption that men are by nature free and equal. So if we are trying to understand the existence of government, or if we're trying to understand the authority of one man over another, we need an explanation of why man would consent to that, right? If people are equal, why do they consent to having someone else rule over them? There must be a logical explanation of why this is not only a benefit for the one who is ruling, but also the ones who are being ruled. So that's what we're going to talk about. So hopefully you've watched this video first. You have read Hobbes. I still want you to read Hobbes. And we're going to talk in person soon. Take care, guys.